I think we got a heck of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
Hello and welcome to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight podcast. I'm your host Gus, and with less than 12 hours to go before kickoff, Jets at 49ers in Santa Clara, just outside of San Francisco. It's going to be an interesting game with the teams very, very tightly locked together in so many different aspects. Obviously, there's the connection with Salah working for both teams, and so there's a familiarity not only amongst the players but the coaching staff too, as the Jets fans will see no doubt as well, and the 49ers fans. But let's just take a look at the 49ers. The 49ers O-line is not that good, and to be honest, this Jets D-line really should take advantage of a weakened 49ers O-line. They're starting a rookie, Pooney, at left guard, and Trent Williams is now back as well. But Trent Williams is an all-pro, but he has been holding out. He's missed all pre-season, he's missed all his OTAs and everything else. So he's coming in raw off holding out. How good is Trent Williams going to be? Is he going to come in at 100%? I very, very much doubt it. So they should be there to be feasted upon by our D-line, who we've seen in pre-season, albeit against second and third stringers, have been absolutely rampant. But what worries me a little bit is this same thing happened to the Dolphins O-line last year, and for some reason the Jets D-line just couldn't take advantage of that. And the O-line of the Dolphins, as we know, ended up having their way, and we lost badly. Aaron Banks says last year's Super Bowl loss, and in particular the O-line's performance, is, and I quote, still a sore subject. So I think that they are licking their wounds still from that Super Bowl hangover. Which brings me on to somebody else that's just come back into the team, CMC, Christian McCaffrey. Now, he was listed originally as having a calf strain, but now we come into the official injury report. They have to be more specific, the teams, that is. And it turns out that he was actually having a problem with his ACL. So it's going to be interesting to see how much of CMC is going to be available. I very much doubt he's going to be 100%. Unless this is gamesmanship, which I very much doubt. And I would also expect him to have a phased return in, so he's going to be on a snap count as well, I would imagine. And it's probably the same with Trent Williams. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because the 49ers rely heavily on their run game, and if they haven't got Christian McCaffrey to fall back on and use as they normally would, there's going to be the focus on Brock Purdy to get the job done. Whether or not they rely on play action or designed plays, it remains to be seen. But that's going to be an interesting one to watch. Briefly about Reddick, he is just not about at all. There's been absolutely zero word. I strongly think now that he is never going to play for the Jets, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's either traded or he just turns up for the last 6 games, but then do you play him? As I've touched on before, the whole thing is a complete mess. Awful. Apparently, he's quoted as saying he's prepared to fall on his sword, it seems. So, you can't miss what you've never had. That's the way I'm looking at it. Does he make us better? Absolutely. Would I love to see him playing tonight? Absolutely. But he's not been on the field or anything, so even if he did sign today, which he's not, he wouldn't be able to play anyway. Going into this game, it's quite interesting, because out of the two teams, from what I've been reading, it seems that the Jets have more of that feel-good factor, and it's not the 49ers. And let's face it, the window to win the Super Bowl for them is fast closing. So, again, it's going to be interesting. Last night's games, annoyingly, all the AFC teams won last night. The Bills and the Finns, they mounted comeback wins, with the Patriots with a surprise win over the Bengals. Didn't see that coming. For those in all the pick'ems and everything, I think everyone pretty much got the Bengals on that one. But hey, that's the NFL. Any given Sunday. Should the unthinkable happen tonight, the Jets would be in last place in the division. And you know what's going to happen on Twitter? Yup. We've seen Aaron Rodgers in training camp this year, and we've not seen him in pre-season, and he has, for the best part, looked really, really good. He's been quoted as saying that he's taken more snaps and reps this year than any other training camp that he's ever been involved in, which I think is a really good thing, because he didn't do the pre-season, so he did need those extra reps. How much? Now there's a little bit of bone of conjecture here, because there's a lot of people saying that they wanted to see the starters play a few snaps in pre-season. Well, what are you actually going to gain by playing the starters in a few snaps? I don't think you're actually going to gain anything by it at all, and in actual fact you're probably putting them at risk. And we've come out of the pre-season with a really, really low injury report. I think it's Loki Fatu is on long-term IR, and Wes Schweitzer unfortunately is out with a hand as well. So those are the only two notable players that we could have done with, but they're not going to be there. So I think all in all, the coaching staff made the right decisions. Don't put anybody at risk. Obviously there's going to be a bit of rust tonight, so there will be some rust, but again, they've been practicing behind closed doors, away from the media, away from the fans. So they've been working on their skill and their timing and all the rest of it. So it isn't as bad as people are making out. But again, there probably will be, because you can never replicate this on the training ground. You can never do it. So there will be a little bit of rust tonight. Maybe a few missed throws, people out of position. But I expect them to hit the ground running. It's going to be interesting. We've got Brees, we've got Braylon Allen, we've got Isaiah Davis, we've got Izzy Abanikanda as our running backs. It's going to be smash mouth football, I would think, early on. And our passing game, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mike Williams, how many reps he gets. Garrett is going to come out all firing all cylinders. Here's a good one. Tyler Conklin. Gino at the weekend reckoned that he's going to score the first touchdown. Really, really good shout. I like that shout myself, actually, as well. Although I've gone from Lazard, I just can't help but feel that any defence isn't going to pay too much attention to Alan Lazard based on what he did last year. He might not get on the field for the entire drive, but I think if we get down near the end zone, look for Lazard to come on and snag that first touchdown for the Jets. But that's my prediction. Here's a little interesting stat. We are still, in 2024, September, undefeated. So the last regular game was against the Pats last year, and of course we've had all this pre-season where we haven't been defeated. Although, does it really matter? Well, I think it does if you're a player, put it that way. And I know that if I was playing, even if it's a pre-season game, I would like to finish all my pre-season games with a W, and I'm sure that they do too. Pride and all that, and togetherness. This is so exciting. I've never been this excited for a season other than last year, but I feel even more, if it's possible, excited this year, knowing how close this team is going to be. This team is just built to win a Super Bowl, so it's going to be so interesting. I've said this before, on paper this is arguably our toughest test of the season. It's a good time to be playing the 49ers. My prediction for this game is 24-17 Jets. So let's hope I don't put the kibosh on that. Anyway, thanks for listening, and speak soon. And as always, go Jets.
Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.